Good evening. Welcome to our Parent University. Welcome to our primary grade band room. I'm Natalie Seitler. I'm one of our assistant principals here in primary grade bands, and I handle all things ELA and social studies. So today we're going to talk about some ELA strategies, things that you can do with your student at home, and what they can do in class to help improve their reading abilities. We know in primary, we have our kindergarten through second grade kiddos, and one of our main focuses is obviously that they are learning how to read. And we want to make sure that you guys have the best information to use at home and in school. All right, so the agenda that we have today, first thing we're going to talk about some classroom expectations, things that we have in class they're going to be using, some of our platforms, what you can work with your students on in class and outside of class, and then some ELA strategies, classroom strategies, and at-home strategies. All right, first off, classroom expectations. As you all are well aware now of our modules and the way those are set up. So in your Canvas courses, you'll see the modules tab off to the left, right above the jigsaw, or right over in that list of tabs on the left-hand side. If you click on the module tab, you will notice all of their coursework, all of their assignments, any tests or quizzes they have are all there in those modules. All right, so you're going to take the time every day to kind of look through that. And then also you'll have in your homeroom class, you'll have a week at a glance so that you know exactly what graded assignments are coming up that week and what the students are expected to have completed. But that's where you're going to find a lot of information as far as what they need to complete for the week, and then what is upcoming for those students. All right, so any type of graded work, any classroom work will all be right there inside those modules. This is a quick glimpse of what those modules look like. And you can see here that all of our kindergarten and first grade assignments are considered required. So we don't use the term graded for first and kindergarten anymore because they're standards based. We are using the term required. So anything that you see there that is required is something that the students should complete outside of class during their, or if they have time during class, they can complete it then as well. But they need to make sure you have time for them to complete all of those required assignments. In second grade, you're going to see the word graded. And those assignments are letting you know that those are the graded assignments for those kiddos, and they will be required to complete those as well. All right, so the little different terminology between the three, but definitely assignments that are all required. Another thing we have in the modules are extra resources. So a lot of the resources that we have, we don't expect them to go through each and every page of those, especially our FLVS modules. They are under extra resources so that you can see exactly what the student has, what they can complete. And then you can also look and see if there's something that they're missing, or maybe they just didn't get it. You want to go through that. You can go through the FLVS module in the extra resources, or any of the other platforms that they have in the extra resources there. As far as our platforms go, you can see that we have Sora, which is our online library. Your student can go on, they can check out books, they can find all kinds of different books. I mean, it's literally an online library. So just like you would go to the public library and check out a book, you can go to the online library and check out those books in Sora. So if there's students super interested in dinosaurs or trains, you can go to Sora and find books on that, and then let them check those out. Learning A to Z is a platform we use quite often here in primary. So you'll see in Learning A to Z, we also have our Reading A to Z. And then with Reading A to Z, you'll see all kinds of different books in there as well that they can read. That's also where their Champ Challenge is taking place this year. So we're going to talk about the Champ Challenge in just a minute. But that is also taking place in Reading A to Z. MobyMax, teachers will assign a lot of things in MobyMax for your students. If your teacher's not assigning it, you can go into MobyMax. You can work on sight words. There's phonics practice, all kinds of things without them actually assigning anything. MobyMax is a great tool for our young students who are learning to read. So definitely you can use MobyMax to help with those types of standards, or like I said, just phonics and sight words. There's a lot of practice in MobyMax for that. And then iReady, we obviously have an iReady lab. You guys are familiar with that because you've been going to that all year. But in iReady, your student has a My Path. So you can have either teacher assigned lessons or they can work in their My Path. We want students to work in their My Path. Teachers may assign a specific lesson if they have something throughout the week they want them to do, but I want their focus to be in their My Path. We do want them to complete we want them to complete 2 ELA or reading lessons in their My Path and 2 math lessons in their My Path every week. So that's part of the iReady Lab goals that they'll have. Is 2 lessons in reading and 2 lessons in math every single week. All right, and then some ELA strategies, some things that we can do in the classroom and at home. All right, we want to make sure our students are getting the best reading instruction they can get, and so here are some things that we can do in the classroom. We want you to encourage your students to sound out unknown words. If the teacher's asking them to read, asking them to do something, allow them to try to sound it out before you just tell them the word. I know as parents, it's easy for us to say, oh, that says this, and we read it to them. Give them the chance to kind of look through it and sound it out and see if they can figure it out before we give them the answer, because we want to make sure that they are trying and they're using those steps and the techniques that the teachers are teaching them in class. We want to make sure they're using those. So give them a chance to try before we give them the answer. And then allow students to answer teachers without assistance. Kind of the same thing, we want our student to be able to answer the question and we want to maybe help them a little bit if they're struggling. Allow the teacher to do that. As the teacher's in the classroom, they're working with your student. It allows the teacher, if you're giving the student the answer, then the teacher doesn't really know that the student doesn't know it. They may think, oh, he's got this, he's good to go, where it's actually a situation where the student maybe needs a little extra help. And we want to make sure that the teacher knows that so they can get them the help that they need on the standard or whatever it is that they're working on at that time. So allow the students to answer the teachers without assistance. Just sit back. If the teacher needs to walk them through something, if they don't understand it, then that's something the teacher can do in the classroom. Participate in class. Have your student on their microphone, on their camera. Allow them to type in the chat box and work together. And I know a lot of our teachers have different methods that they use for the chat box and the microphone and things like that. But have your student there. Let them participate in class with whatever the teacher is doing. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about is using inventive spelling. Obviously, I know when our students are writing, we want to make sure that what they're writing is good, what they're, turning to the teacher is really good. But we also teach, K through 2 students here in primary. So we want to make sure that it's authentic, right? I don't want you having to go in and, tell them how to spell the word, right? Let them figure out how to spell it. I've got some examples on the next slide of what that looks like. All right. So you can see here a student who's, trying to write a sentence. I play soccer. All right. This is how they sounded it out, right? This is their inventive spelling. You can see I play and then soccer. They missed a few letters from the beginning to the end, but that's what they're trying to spell. What the learning coach did here was wrote underneath, hey, this student was trying to say, I play soccer, just to give the teacher an idea. But if your student turns in something like this and you've written out underneath what they're trying to say, that's perfectly fine. All right. We want to make sure that the students are able to practice and to sound those words out instead of us just giving them the information. This one right here, I love school. School is great. All right. So you can see here that the student has some extra periods in here, but definitely you can read the sentence. So let them spell, use their inventive spelling to figure out exactly where they're at and what they need. All right. And then when they're in the classroom, small groups, the teachers will pull in small groups daily, and at least every week they have a win group day. So your student will be in there with teachers doing those small groups to make sure that they are there, ready to go, participating, have their camera and microphone ready for those small groups, because that's time that's very valuable in a primary classroom. We want to make sure that our teachers and our students are getting everything out of it that they can. High impact practices, you'll hear teachers talk about, ask questions. You'll hear them maybe ask a student to expand on their answer, maybe ask another student, hey, what do you think about this? All those different things that we use in the classroom to kind of get the students talking to each other, but also getting them to explain their thinking, right? We want to use those higher order thinking questions to get them to not only just answer a question, but really explain and understand why it is the answer that it is. They have independent work time every day, so they'll have a skill that they'll be working on during their independent work time. Allow them to work on that independently. If they need help with navigation, things like that, feel free to step in and help. But if they're answering questions, I'll let them do that. We want to make sure that the teacher has all the information that they need to see where your student's at and if they've mastered that standard. And then our iReady lab, we talked about that a few minutes ago. They are working in their MyPath for iReady lab. They're doing 2 math and 2 reading lessons a week in their MyPath. So those are some things you can do in the classroom. When you're at home, one thing I always say to your students is to, say to parents is to read. Read with your child every day. All right, we want to make sure that students are exposed to books, they're exposed to literature, they're exposed to words on the page. They see you reading, they're following along. It helps them become a better reader. All right. You can pull books in Sora if you don't have access to a local library or books at home. You can pull books in Reading A to Z. This kind of goes along with our Champ Challenge I was mentioning earlier. The student or the class, with the most minutes read in Learning A to Z, so have to be reading books, but the class with the most minutes read in Learning A to Z is going to get a prize. We'll have that coming up toward the end of the semester. Have your child read to you. If your child's not reading yet and you are reading to them, have them retell the story to you. Hey, what happened on this page? Have them make predictions. What do you think is going to happen on this next page, right? Older siblings can help too. You may allow them to read with your student, with your younger kiddos, and older students can definitely help. Start with a book walk. Look through the book, have them make predictions. Encourage students to write in a journal, or you can make a book together. Those are ideas for you to be using at home with your kiddos. And then sight words and phonics practice. Practice those sight words every single day. Those things, every day, even if you have them just around your house, tape them to the wall, make some flashcards, constantly go through those sight words with your students, right? As those are, a lot of those words are just words we have to memorize. And so make sure that they are going through those and looking at those. Practice phonics skills in Head Sprout, and then also sound out words. So if you're in the grocery store and you're trying to, find something, allow them to try to read those labels and sound out some of those words. All right, so those are kind of just some different tips that we can give you to help as far as what your students need at a primary grade band level in order to learn to read. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your attention and for coming. We appreciate you. And if you have any questions, just let us know.